It was a hot summer afternoon on the island of Sodor. James and Edward were resting in the sheds. James was complaining, and Edward was becoming irritated.
I'm tired of this excessive heat. It's not making our jobs any easier, and it's straining my paintwork.
It's not that bad, James. I think...
Not that bad? Ha 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 ha! Easy for you to say. You, Thomas and Percy, gallivant around on the branch lines, while us big engines are pulling heavy mainline trains. Your work is so easy.
It's not as easy as you think, James,
said Edward.
We don't gallivant around either. Branch lines are more involved than you think.
Oh please, Edward. It can't be that hard. You're just old and can't handle it. I bet if I worked on a branch line, it would be no problem,
James said pompously. Edward thought for a moment.
Well then, why not try it out?
Try it out?
James puzzled.
Well, if you think branch line work is so easy, why not try it? I'll do your work for a day, and you do mine.
I would,
James started.
But I'm not sure you could handle my work. Keep in mind, you wouldn't be handling light goods and passengers.
Don't forget, James, I used to pull trains on the main line before you came along,
Edward retorted.
If you insist.
Later that night, James and Edward asked their drivers if they could switch for the day. The drivers agreed, and it was settled. The next day, James's fire was slow to start. By the time he was ready, he was running late.
How am I going to prove that I am better than Edward if I can't even make it to the yard on time?
It's not your fault, James,
said his driver.
Your fire was slow. I'm sure the yard manager will understand.
I hope so.
Meanwhile, Edward was at Knapford, getting his coaches ready for the morning run. The station master came up.
Hello, Edward. What are you doing here?
Edward told the station master all about it.
I see. Best of luck to you, then.
Thank you.
When James arrived, he saw the yard manager waiting. He looked confused.
Hello, James. What are you doing here? I thought Edward was coming today.
Well, sir, Edward and I wagered. He said working on the branch line is harder than mainline work, so we switched for today.
I see,
said the yard manager.
Well, first you must shunt the train due for Brendam. Henry will be coming to collect it. Then...
Shunting?
James groaned.
Is there a problem with that?
Asked the yard manager.
No, sir. I'll get to it.
James shunted around the yard for a while, putting the cars in their respective places. Henry arrived.
Oh, hello, James. What are you doing here?
Asked Henry.
Well...
All right. You and Edward made a bet.
How did you know?
I remember him telling me when I saw him at Wellsworth.
I bet his wheels are aching by now.
Actually, he's doing quite well. He's handling the coaches fine, and the passengers were having a splendid time.
James said nothing.
Oh, is that my train over there?
Oh, yes it is.
Thank you, James. Good luck with your duties.
Oh.
Edward was resting in a siding. Gordon saw him.
Hello, Edward. How are you getting on?
Quite well, Gordon. I'll admit these trains are a bit heavier than I remember, but I'm getting along. How's James doing?
Huh, from what I've heard, he's not taken a liking to his duties.
I didn't imagine he would. However, I do think this is all a bit childish, don't you?
Not at all. James needed to be put in place. We can't have engines boasting all the time.
Funny you say that, Gordon.
Fair play, Edward. I'll admit I can be a bit, proud of myself, but I wouldn't go as far as to challenge another engine to his duties. Especially when I'm not prepared.
I suppose James hasn't learned that yet.
James had finally finished his shunting, and was still fed up.
This is ridiculous. Will I be stuck here all day?
Just then, the yard manager came up.
Alright, James, now that you're done with that, we have a train for you to pull.
James was excited.
There's a line of empty coal cars that need to be filled and taken to the siding at Lower Sudbury.
Ooh.
After you've done that, you must deliver passengers from Knapford and Maithwaite.
James perked up,
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
and he sped off. James collected the empty cars and took them to be filled. On his way to the station, a weak coupling in one of the cars snapped. And the train was split in two. James took no notice and continued on. Boko came down the line a few moments later. He wasn't aware of the cars. He didn't see them until it was too late. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Boko lay dazed and confused.
Bother.
Meanwhile, James puffed gaily to collect his coaches.
Yes, finally! Nothing but peaceful pastures and happy passengers. It will be nice.
James arrived at Knapford. He waited impatiently at the platform.
Ah, hello, James. Here for your passenger train, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Right. Your coaches are over there in the sidings.
James glanced at the coaches.
Is an engine going to bring them over?
Yes, James, you are.
What?
Well, you're a branch line engine today, and branch line engines fetch their own trains.
James was cross.
Great. Just great.
Be quick now. The passengers are waiting.
Ooh.
James set off from the station and puffed along the line. He wasn't used to branch line passengers though, and was going too fast for them. The passengers bounced into coaches like peas in a frying pan. When James finally reached Maithwaite, the passengers were relieved. They didn't much like the high speeds.
Why was this engine going so fast? We want Edward back.
James was upset. James returned to the sheds after the day's work was over. The Fat Controller arrived. He looked very cross.
James,
Yes, sir?
I've heard about your wager, and I must say I'm not very happy with your work today. Not only were you too fast with your passengers, but you were in such a hurry you left your train behind and caused an accident.
James was shocked.
Oh, but, sir,
For the next week, you shall pull only freight cars. Hopefully this will teach you that branch lines aren't a walk in the park.
James didn't want to argue,
Yes, sir.
and with that, he left.
Well, James, how was your day?
Not good, Edward. I really messed up. You were right. Branch lines are important. I'm sorry for thinking otherwise. Is Boko alright?
Fortunately, yes. And I hope you learned your lesson, James. Perhaps now you can appreciate your work, eh?
James happily agreed.